Hello. At the middle of the project in MSci 342, so in other words, after the first two sprints and before the last two sprints, we do a mid-project feedback. And the feedback is, at its core, is largely about getting everyone on the team feedback from their teammates. Now, let me take a step back. There's confidential feedback about the team to me, the professor. All right. This is there to allow students to be able to tell me details about things going on in the team that they think I really should know. Sometimes this is getting at details that they want to give context. There are some students who are worried and afraid that their teammates are going to say something bad about them. Or they want to somehow diffuse that. That tends not to actually be a problem. And I've never actually seen sort of good, oh, I wanted to let you know that this person is gonna like say bad things about me. And it's like, oh, I want to tell my side of the story. That doesn't seem to ever work very well. But feel free. It's there to do it if you had a need for that, but I rarely see the actual need for that. Usually when there's something, someone's upset at you, you will have already tried to resolve it. Often what I'm actually seeing are cases where students have not resolved any of their issues. They're actually oblivious to problems on their teams. So I wouldn't worry too much about telling me about yourself. I'm going to hear from 5 to 6 other people about you. And so take that into consideration. But certainly, if there are things about the team that I need to know, please let me know. We've got 4 more weeks of this project. It's a stressful time. It's a stressful project. It's a stressful everything. So I'd like to try to do what we can to resolve any issues if there are issues. All right. And yes, I would become involved, or I would talk with you. You can say, I want to talk to you, Professor, about the following issue. Don't talk to my teammates first. Whatever it is, stick it there in the confidential feedback. Only I will read it. No TAs will read the confidential feedback. Your teammates will never see it. It is strictly confidential. All right. Now, but at the same time, I will need to act upon some things if mentioned. And please, if there's something that is a problem now, that you're like, oh, this continues on, it's going to be a horrible thing, and at the end of the term you tell me it was a horrible thing, but you don't tell me it was a horrible thing now, there's nothing I can do to help you. And I certainly want to intervene sooner rather than later. All right. With that in mind, so that's at the team level. All right. But then you are going to do feedback for all of your peers, all of the teammates on the team. And it's divided up into, there's 3 things, but there's 2 really important things. There's where you thank your teammate. You tell them what you appreciate. How are they actually contributing in a way that makes the team more effective? All right. This is really important. When we do these feedback processes, without this, all it is a bunch of negativity, and no one wants to read just a bunch of criticism of themselves. All right. So it's really important that you find something of value in everyone. Now, for some teammates, it's super simple. They are helping you. They're helping other teammates. They're teaching. You see people working really hard to learn things that they've never learned before, contribute. There's tons of ways that people can be really great, and you should be able to find stuff. So even though, let's say you even have someone who's like completely disengaged from the team, find something positive to say about them. You have to, okay? It's a requirement of this feedback process. Now, for improvement, it might be easy. You might have lots of examples, but you might not want to do it. Well, you have to do it. This is a manager-mandated feedback, 360-degree feedback on the team. I want this to be teammate to teammate. I want you to hear from your teammates what they think of you and ways that you could contribute more to the team. So I want you to know what they think you're doing well, and I want you to know what the way to improve is. This model of sort of the what are you doing well, what could you improve at, is something that I experienced in my first job out of university, and my manager used it, collected the feedback from my teammates, and it was really eye-opening. It was in their words. It wasn't my manager telling me what was good and bad. They were telling me and one of the great advantages of this is when you're reading the feedback, you get to go back and forth between these. When you read this and it brings you down and you go, oh, I need to fix those things, then you go back to this and you go, oh, okay. So there is still some good to me. So it balances it out, and that's really important for our psyche to maintain our ego at a reasonable level and allow us to actually find something and do something in the improvement category. I'm also going to ask you to rate them so that everyone can get kind of a quick summary of sort of the average rating of their themselves on the team. Now, this feedback, I will read it all. All right, I'm gonna read it all, and I'm going to grade it. But I grade it on the quality of the feedback being given to someone. I don't grade it on did the person receive good or bad feedback. In other words, not they're performing on the team or they're not performing on the team. I do none of that grading now. All of that sort of grading comes at the individual project evaluation at the end of the term. Certainly what I read here will go into my understanding of that, but there's still half a project to go. I often look for improvement, so I might find that someone was told that they weren't working very hard on a project by their whole team. Oh, but they picked it up on sprints 3 and 4, and that has a big impact on what's actually going to happen in a course. So in the final sort of project mark. So I just want you to keep that in mind. So yes, I'm going to read it. So don't write super nasty things. You're going to get in big trouble. All right. I'm not going to release feedback to anyone that contains malicious, harassing material. By the way, if you do that, you should expect there to be consequences. Likewise, if you lie about people, you might think, how are you going to know? Well, again, I have the entire team telling me about the entire team. It's pretty hard for you to slip in a lie. If I don't see the rest of the team complaining about a certain behavior, for the most part, the behavior probably isn't really there, or I will discount it. And this is one of the ways that this is why the feedback about yourself often isn't that important is, well, if one person has a beef with you, is complaining, well, maybe it's just interpersonal. I'll need to figure that out. I'll do my best, but I will discount it if it's not a problem that everyone on the team sees. It's the problems that everyone sees that I'm most concerned about. These are the ones that complain, every single person on the team tells me that you haven't done any work. I go look in GitHub and I see that you haven't done any work. That's a problem, all right? But that's the other thing is I look to verify any negative things. I try to understand it. I don't just take it and accept it, all right? So it is very carefully considered. So I'm going to read it all. Don't lie. Don't harass. And there are instructions provided on how to write good feedback. We've had a lecture on giving feedback, but there are instructions on how to write it. Often students will say, I can't find anything to say for someone to improve them. They're perfect. Trust me, you can find something. You need to think hard about it though. And likewise, by the way, to write good feedback, to thank people, and to give them constructive advice, you actually need to really think about it. Too often, students write, it's great to have you on the team. That tells me nothing. That tells the person nothing other than you like them. Why do you think they're great on the team? Explain it. Give examples. You need to be specific. Generic, fluffy, junky feedback, you could really improve. Well, of course, everyone can, but why? How? Or I often get the, please comment your code better. Well, okay, I mean, I suppose, but then I'll see someone like tell everyone on the team they should comment their code better. Is that really personalized feedback? No. What is it that this person needs to work on and do? That's what I want you to think about, and think about that person and your interaction with them. Put in that serious thought and put it into that feedback. You cannot get this feedback done instantly, quickly, all right? It takes time to think about it. It takes time to write it. This is a serious exercise, okay? And the quality of the feedback you've written is graded, all right? Go check in the grade book to find out how much it's worth out of your total mark. I'm sure we already have it there, but I expect you to take the time to think about, do this, and write it. You'll see in the instructions that I delivered that it encourages you to first write your feedback in a word processor. That's especially important in case we have a disaster on the server side and lose your feedback, and I ask you to submit it all again. I would do that. Or if you accidentally somehow in submitting it lose it or it doesn't work, don't just type it into the form. Always work in another thing, save it, and then copy and paste it into the person's thing. Likewise, by the way, since I will be reading it all, don't copy and paste the same feedback to every person on your team. I will not look kindly upon that, and you will get a very low grade for your feedback. All right, so what happens after I look at this and I grade the quality of the written feedback? Then I'm going to release it, and you get it all anonymized back. All of the thank you comments are jumbled up and put into one paragraph. The same with all the improvement comments. They're all jumbled up in different orders to make it difficult for anyone to try to figure out who said what about them. Likewise, you'll get your average rating from the team. Now, I want to remind you to be a professional about this. You might mentally think, oh, I think that is so-and-so who said that about me. But you should even avoid that. You're probably wrong, all right? I especially do not want to hear about anyone going around and saying, I know you said this about me. That's not professional, okay? Keep those thoughts to yourself, or come talk to me about it if you have a real concern. Likewise, when you write your feedback, don't reveal your identity with your specific example. Oh, when she helped me write, this method and this controller, da 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 da. Oh, well, there's only one person who did that. You've just figured it. Everything's all figured out. Your example, I want a specific example, but not so specific that it's obvious to the person reading your feedback who you are, okay? Let's say pair programming, you could say, this person has been great. I've seen them do great pair programming with other people, with people on the team. It doesn't have to say they've helped me with pair programming. Then again, if that person is pair programmed with everyone on the team, you could say that it helped you, but don't use your name and things like that. But if you're the only person they've ever pair programmed with, You should write it from a context of like someone sort of in the third person. Oh, I can tell that they've been really effective together. It's really great that they've worked together. Whatever. All right. Find some way. So you need to be professional and not trying to discover identities. I look extremely unkindly about that. That sort of thing goes in. If I find out misbehavior along those lines, that goes into your individual final project mark, that 15% of the course mark. This I'm going to check as I read through it, but please don't make me have to go and edit yours to try to anonymize it. Like, you should do a good job to start with. So we do this. I'm going to release this soon to the class with an announcement. You'll go to the website. There'll be a deadline for getting this done. Everyone is required to do this. Everyone is required to submit feedback for all of these components. You have to write something for the confidential feedback, even if you're going to write, I have no feedback to the professor. That's fine, but you got to put something there so that I know that it was done. These, again, you're going to get graded on them. You have to do them. And you might be like, oh, I'll just take zeros. I don't want to do it. No, if you don't do it, I will badger you and demand you do it until you do it. And if I have to do that because you're not getting it done, again, that's where I go and go, you're not actually being a good person on this project, and I'm going to keep that in mind when I come up with your individual project mark. All right. This is a very important thing. I want you to take it very seriously and be very thoughtful and write good feedback. One thing to note, this year we are working with notions of team health. And you might think, oh, wait a minute, this is the same thing that we're doing. Why is he having us do this? Isn't this the existing system? It's not. This does not give me, as an instructor, an efficient mechanism to find out team health. There's no way I would ask you to do this for every sprint. It's too time consuming. It takes too much work. It's too much stress to be receiving all this written feedback. So it's a high overhead, and it's extremely high overhead on me as the instructor, because I have to look at an entire class work of feedback, and in each team, it's on the order of n squared for the size of the number of teammates. There's a huge amount of material produced when students do this. I read it all. This is absolutely not an efficient way, an appropriate way to be doing team health. That's why I still need, in a course like this and other courses that have groups, one of these team health mechanisms, and why you're working on that as a project. This is a separate purpose. This is about getting you good feedback from your peers. It's about giving you exercise and practice in giving and writing feedback to others. Someday you're going to be in a managerial role, assuming that you are advanced, as a successful engineer. And you'll need to be writing feedback to people. It is an important skill to learn and to develop and to think about this. And also it's a skill to receive it and to process it. And you'll see that there is a small follow-up exercise after we release your feedback to you, where you read it and you reflect upon it and you report to us what you learned from your feedback. All right. Thank you very much.